Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Bringing you another patch notes review today for patch 2.3a for Wild Rift. Let's get straight into it. So, Wild Rift patch notes 2.3a. Got a bit of a smaller patch today. Obviously, it's one of the side patches. Normally they're not that big, but there's actually some significant changes in here. Already breezed through them myself, but yeah, got some cool stuff to talk about. Surf's Up, patch 2.3a is here, featuring a host of balance changes for champions, items, summoner spells, and more. Dive into the festivities and make a splash at the pool party event. Here it is, pool party event. We got Fiora. You see Darius here in the bottom left. You guys have the the meme where he's walking with his girlfriend, but he's turning around looking at the other woman. Darius is giving Katarina those vibes. Hard right now. Fiora is stealing some looks for sure. So we got pool party Fiora, Xin, Leona, Lulu, Oriana, and Renekton coming, and Galaxy Slayer Z. I like that they've released the times. I think they do this normally, but I saw people asking about Galaxy Slayer Z on Reddit, I think, and nice that they have a guaranteed day and time. But Galaxy Slayer Z does it really cool, so I'm excited for that skin as well. Got some pool party emotes coming. Pool party event begins June 17th. This will be rewards and stuff. That's always cool. So, champion changes, meat and potatoes. First of all, we got Ahri. Ahri was charming her foes towards her demise too easily, working to make her harder to secure her victims, making the Nine-Tailed Fox a bit more vulnerable. So she's losing 5 base armor. I think I have a pretty notorious opinion that may ruffle some feathers as usual, but I don't think Ahri is very good anyway, so a bit surprising to see her get nerfed, but this nerf doesn't really matter that much. Most of the time this will be significant, I guess, is in melee matchups, or physical matchups, like maybe Zed or Aurelia, when they get an all-in angle, but you don't really get that against Ahri very often anyway if she plays very patient and safe, because Charm is like such a solid disengage tool that it basically makes those champs have no windows to all in her anyway. And then the other factor is like getting ganks, I guess. So a lot of jugglers are physical, obviously, so when she does get ganked, she'll be taking more damage on those ganks, I suppose. Stuff like Lee Sin, Wukong, what physical juggles are, but when they gank Ahri now, she'll be taking more damage on those ganks, I guess, which makes her lane phase a little bit weaker, I suppose. But overall, I don't think this change would matter too much. Bit of a weird nerf in general, in my opinion. I do know she gets a lot of play in Southeast Asian competitive. We don't see her very much in Europe. I mean, she gets played in ranked, but I don't think the champ is that good, so kind of strange seeing getting nerfed, but I guess her win rate is really high. Evelynn is home-wrecking high-skill play too ferociously when using her ultimate to steal objectives. Her focus should be on hunting champions, not monsters, so adjusting where the execute damage applies. Her ultimate no longer executes objectives. This is a massive change for Evelynn. Probably just kills the champion, to be honest, because I think part of the strength of Eve is like, wow, she's this great ganker, great burst, damage and snowballing. She also had that insane objective power that basically made it so she could flip literally any objective and always have the advantage, right? It's impossible to out smite. Like it's like especially in the late games, like a 2k damage smite, like her ult plus smite. So now this is a massive nerf to Evelynn within the context of like high level play, where she had like not only this like kind of ganking assassin style, but even if that wasn't working or you couldn't get snowballing, you had insane objective control. But now the objective control is completely gone, meaning that she's just this assassin now. I think this pretty much kills her for pro play. The little we saw of her like here and there. Don't think anybody really consider her at all now, because yeah, big boon was that objective control, and yeah, even high elo I think she'll be seen a lot less, because unless you can snowball now, you don't really have any of that like objective control power. If you play against Evelynn, it's very hard to ever do Baron because she has the ability to just run in to steal it, but now that's way less consistent. Overall, just massive nerf to high elo Evelynn, as they say. And probably wouldn't see the champion high elo much at all, unless they're like a one trick or something. And even then, I think she hasn't been played that much recently anyway since the previous nerfs, so definitely dead champ. Janna's isn't performing too well when maxing Zephyr first. We're winding down its powers, it doesn't blow away her other skills. Zephyr, her second ability, generally maxed like to be aggressive in lane phase, use it for poke because it's targeted. Very easy to like harass people with it. Just toning down some of the later ranked damage. I don't think this is a crazy enough for Janna. I think you could play her perfectly fine, maxing shield even. Well, she would take a little bit less damage towards like the mid game, I suppose. I think it's kind of weird that they did hit 10 damage. 10-20 on rank 1 and 2. This is like primarily the lane phase numbers, right? It's like 65 on 25. Well, once you get to like this point, I think the damage is not as relevant in the lane anyway, because everybody's kind of doing more damage by like level 6, 7. So I think it's weird that they focused more on the later ranks if they wanted to take down the power of Zephyr, but either way, just toning down some of Janna's harass. Very dominant laning support right now. Best enchanter in the game, and all around just nice to see it getting up, I guess. Katarina's win rate has climbed to a point where we think it's no longer healthy given her reset and multi-kill playstyle. We're giving her a general power down, also reworking how her ultimate interacts with phase rush, as it was completely nullifying counterplay. So AP ratio down 0.1 at all levels. On veracity, pretty good change, big hit to her scaling. This is basically, considering she gets 2 daggers down, one from throwing the dagger with the first ability, one from dropping with the second. It's basically a 0.2 ratio to her rotation. pretty significant. Definitely much less damage coming out from Cat now. Obviously, if she resets, she's still going to be cracked. So champion's still going to be really annoying, but her base damage is much lower now, which is a really good impactful change. I think I've always said before, I think her base numbers should be lower. So when she resets, you know, it's not like insane. I think like at 1 reset, she should probably do about as much damage as another mid lane. And then 2+ is when she should really like get to shine. So I like to see that I think her base values in general, I guess, or at least her scaling. So she gets a lot less immediate damage. And they've also removed the interaction with Phase Rush on her ultimate. Honestly, I don't know, I didn't think it was that good anyway. Kind of felt like a bit of a meme to me, but no fault with removing it from the game, I guess, if it's not what they intended. Leona was still feeling under the weather, so giving her a minor buff to help brighten her days in lane. Should have the Radiant Dawn reach her full potential. Zenith Blade another 0.5 range. I think this is like the 2nd or 3rd time Zenith Blade's had a range increase, no? I don't know. One of these days, Leona's gonna be good. Like, this is like the 4th, 5th time they've buffed her or something. It's like the Pantheon treatment. But I guess Pantheon still hasn't really been that good, so we're waiting for the day. But I think Leona's very close. Like, even before like rounds of nerfs, I've had games with Leonas and they've had really dominant performances. So I think the champion is solid. It just takes like maybe a bit of practice to get used to like the rotations and the angles. I guess there's no Hex Flash in this game like PC, which makes her a little bit weaker, but not significantly so. But yeah, maybe this would be the change that finally puts Leona into like a more stable place in the meta. Because I think the champion is pretty solid and she's like fun to play with, I guess. Maybe not fun to play against because she sees you for like 400 years, but I do think the champion is a good staple meta pick when it's good, and so it'd be nice to see it in the game in a more healthy way, I suppose. Wukong is still struggling to maintain his presence outside the jungle. We're increasing his ability to stay healthy in hopes that the Monkey King will be able to rightfully reign his lane. So a little 30% buff to crushing blow of minions, just a buff for Baron lane Wukong. I've seen it a bit on this patch. Honestly, I thought it'd be better, but I think it's quite disappointing, to be honest. I just think he's not very good at laning. He doesn't really win many matchups. Maybe he outscales some of like the tankier choices, but overall, just haven't really seen many reasons to be running Wukong Baron lane. I guess he'll have slightly more sustain now, which might make his laning a little bit stronger, but this is like hitting minions, you know, and his early levels of sustain aren't that good anyway, so I don't think it's like a drastic buff, but maybe it makes some of his matchups a bit smoother. We'll just have to see, I suppose. Xin Zhao's been underperforming since his rework to match PC. We're buffing the Seneschal of Demacia to help him regain his former glory. We'll be keeping a close eye on his progress. Big magic resistance buff. 8 magic resistance in the game is nothing to sneeze at. And also health gain per level up. So a little bit of a health scaling buff and a big magic resistance buff. This actually makes it pretty interesting against stuff like Fizz, maybe, who is kind of like a staple of the meta right now since the buffs he got last patch. He probably ought to do that champion way better. So we could actually see that as like a weird counter pick as a result of this buff, because it's actually really significant. Maybe Xin Zhao mid, guys? Is this a Xin Zhao mid angle? Plus MR, that's Xin Zhao mid. Anyone does Xin Zhao mid? Overall, I don't know. Xin on PC has recently been seeing a lot more play, but I think he got another significant round of buffs or something. I'm not sure. I've seen him a few times since the rework. I don't think he's performing that poorly. Maybe there's just other options that are better, but this could be the buff that he needs to push him more to be a staple meta pick. Gameplay changes. Balmy Cinder, Sunfire Aegis, monster, and minion damage getting halved. And this is just enough to kind of let the passive wave clear that tanks get in the jungle and in Baron lane. I don't really think any tank jungles are abusing this lately, but I mean, I guess some champions, like maybe the Wukong tank build is going Sunfire sometimes, so maybe that's just kind of a nerf to that kind of clear, but I don't think it's too significant for jungle, but I guess for Baron lane, it's a bit of a nerf to Garen. Garen's passive wave clear, maybe Malphite, maybe Tank Gragas. These kind of champions have to rely a bit more on using their spells and mana to be able to clear waves than just relying on the Sunfire. And Winter's Approach is getting mana charge increased from 8 to 12. I still haven't really seen this item built much. I think it's a cool idea, but it just doesn't really fit many champions builds. But yeah, maybe increasing the mana charge rate makes it a bit more of a worthwhile choice. We might see it more on stuff like Tank Gragas, stuff like that. Summoner spells. Ignite cast range going from 5.5 up to 6. I'm sure most of you remember it used to be 7. Brought it down to 5.5, now they bring it up to 6 again. As they say, it makes it a little bit of a better choice for like ranged champions who generally struggle to be in range to use it. I don't really think this would change much. I think most of them you still run barrier, like no reason to run ignite on stuff like Orianna, Ziggs, and champions like Ahri and maybe TF. They already kind of like kite or dive into like melee range or shorter range anyway, so the ignite range doesn't really matter for them. But a kind of a nice change for maybe like just champions that take ignite, melees, Ahri, TF, these kind of champions. Especially in mid lane, like having a longer range ignite as an assassin can be pretty significant sometimes. Like if you're trying to catch somebody after a flash or something, could be relevant for some mid lanes. Not really too a big deal for Baron lane. I think most of those matchups are melee anyway. A small buff to like ignite users in mid. Smite. We're increasing mana regen to help level the playing field between resources jungles and mana-hungry jungles. This change is significant, but keeping a close eye on this. New passive restores 4 mana per second while in jungle or river. This is actually a really big change. This is a huge buff for champions like Olaf, especially, struggling quite a bit since the loss of the regeneration rune. He benefited a lot from having that mana restoration. This is a massive buff to Olaf, pretty significant for Wukong, maybe Fizz, Evelynn. A lot of these champions that jungle that are mana intensive kind of have been struggling since they lost the regeneration rune. This is kind of their way of giving back to that, I guess. But yeah, this is really, really big, as they say. A lot of these junglers kind of like, and Moo as well, I guess, have to like do blue to kind of keep up with their jungle pace. But now they don't have to do that anymore. They just, they'll have like a way higher base mana regen. Definitely is significant, as they say. Will make a lot more junglers that have this kind of like weaker resource held back like early game have to focus on it a lot less, you know? Not entirely sure I like the change because it kind of removes some of the skill from some of those junglers maybe and makes them a bit more face roll, but overall I guess that's also fine if it's a bit more casual. You don't have to be as intense with like your mana management and things like that. Yeah, definitely an interesting change that is a big buff to some champions like I mentioned. System, outer tower gold. Rebalancing outer tower gold distribution be focused on local gold rather than global gold. I think this is a really solid change. I do think the game was kind of snowballing in this regard, where if you pulled down like 2-3 outer towers pretty quickly, the enemy team felt like they had such a massive gold lead that it was like impossible to contest them, no matter who actually forced those towers, you know? So gold per play is being increased and then global gold's being reduced, and this actually means towers are worth more gold overall, but only if you're there, right? Because you lose 50 global gold, but you gain 150 plate gold because it's 3 plates. So yeah, if you actually take your tower now and you just destroy your lane and take tower, you know, 4 to 5 minutes, whatever, you're actually getting more gold than you used to. So this is a bit of a buff to like, yeah, winning lane and getting snowballing as an individual, but it's less team gold. So you will have more resources, but you have to actually carry. You're not just making your team way stronger by taking towers. Pretty good change. Do think the global gold from towers is a bit too high. Jungle! Some camps are being ignored by players since the time it took to do them didn't outweigh the benefits of roaming. We're making adjustments to these camps to make it less of a trap to spend time clearing them. Grump health being reduced and Krug's health going down. I like this change a lot, especially as a mid laner. Once you get to like the side laning phase of the game, you often do Grump and Krug, so they're quite tanky, it takes a while. Now you can do them a little bit faster. Krug's change is pretty interesting. This could lead to like, the lowered HP at 1 could mean that AoE junglers might end up starting Krugs, because that's actually kind of a nice camp for them to do. So you can go like Krugs into red and like just do a full clear throughout the whole jungle. It's like a little bit more efficient. Or like a Krugs, red, Raptors, Crab, then go to your blue jungle, something like that. It has interesting potential, and yeah, I think it's good to like, yeah, make these outer camps a little bit more accessible, because they are generally harder to path to, just in terms of like efficiency in your map movement. So making them a bit easier to take is like a nice middle ground, I think, that makes them a better option occasionally. So overall, yeah, pretty happy with that change, especially as a greedy mid laner who farms the jungle in the mid game. Bug fixes! Fix the bug regarding champion points. Saw a lot of this on Reddit and stuff, so sure a lot of people will be happy that they've managed to fix this one, but I don't know if you'll get your points back, so unlucky, I guess. But good that they've already fixed that you won't lose points anymore when you win a game. I think this happened to me on stream once as well. It was kind of funny. But yeah, that's 2.3a. I think pretty solid patch, to be honest. Nothing, I mean, I don't think anything here is like super insanely game changing, although I could be wrong. Most of them are just nice small tweaks to keep the game interesting. I think the biggest winners are maybe Leona. Smite change is pretty big for a lot of champions. Evelynn's dead in Hilo. Maybe Xin Zhao could be good. I don't know. Xin Zhao mid, guys? AP's in mid? Anyone? Probably not. But yeah, thank you guys very much for hanging out the video. If you're hanging out and checking out this video, if you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like. Really helps out the channel. If you want to see more content like this, maybe you should subscribe. I don't know why I said it so weird in the end. It just kind of got strange. Thank you guys so much, and I'll catch you guys again next time. Have a good one. Peace.